Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve and this is a 5-minute review of The Hateful Eight from 2015. The film is directed and written by Quentin Tarantino and the cast is absolutely amazing with names that everybody will recognise. Some of them have appeared in his previous films such as Samuel L. Jackson to Kurt Russell to Jennifer Jason Leigh. In particular, I'm a big fan of westerns, so I was really looking forward to seeing this film. On top of that, it has a score by Ennio Morricone, who in my opinion is one of the best in the business, and he has scored the music for a number of classic western films starring Clint Eastwood. In some ways the film feels very much like a play, because most of the action takes place within one large room, and in some ways you could see it being adapted for the stage. The scenery in the film is also breathtaking, and some of the cinematography, and you see the rolling landscape and the snow, is absolutely amazing. And for the first 5 minutes of the film, there's a really long, drawn-out shot of something that just keeps zooming out and out until you get to see this amazing frozen vista. That's about all of the positives that I can summon up for this film, because thereafter what I had to endure was a 3-hour slog through drudgery and boredom. I've really enjoyed some of Quentin Tarantino's films in the past, mostly when he's worked with someone else or he's been adapting material from something, but more recently his films have been completely his own, and I've found them, on the whole, quite disappointing. But it's not just me with that opinion, because the box office for The Hateful Eight has been the lowest of his 3 most recent films, the previous being Inglourious Basterds and Django Unchained. I'm not someone who normally complains about films being too long, but this film was almost 3 hours long, and I realised when it got to the 50-minute mark and I wanted to go and get a cup of tea, almost nothing had happened. And that's not exaggeration in the slightest. The same thing had happened over and over again. Someone was going along, Kurt Russell's character, in a carriage, he gets stopped by someone and somebody wants to get in. Do that for the first 50 minutes with 2 other characters who talk a lot about nothing and don't really go anywhere, but there's a lot of exposition about their characters and why they're there, and it's trying to set up the tension, but there isn't any. As usual, the language extremely explosive and violent, the dialogue flies off the page, and it must have been a lot of fun for the actors to do with all of the swearing and some of the stuff they get to say, but it doesn't really add anything. If somebody's swearing all of the time and then using some of the most offensive words, they lose their shock value because they're just used over and over again. But nevertheless, I persisted with this film, waiting for something more exciting to happen. Then they finally get to the main building where all of the rest of the film takes place, and you have repetition upon repetition. The thing with the door, they're trying to keep it closed because of the wind. And then we get the thing where he goes around and talks to every single character, finding out who they are, why they're there, and they get this backstory on each character. This goes on and on and on. I think we're now about the halfway point through the film, and I just realised I was so bored I'd started looking up my phone. And this is something I never do. I really don't like to distract myself when watching a film. I'm always completely focused on the TV programme or the film. But with this one, it just showed you how bored I was. I'm not really sure what he was trying to achieve with this. If he's trying to go for the murder mystery type thing where everybody's in the same room and it has that kind of theatre feel, then there is a little bit of an aspect of that, but it was so badly handled, it made me wonder if he's ever been to the theatre before. Which is probably a little bit harsh, but having sat through 3 hours, I feel justified in saying it. And also I feel that the actors were completely wasted. We know all of them are incredibly talented and they're all such great actors, and yet the material that they got to work with was just terribly written. There's no doubt that Quentin Tarantino is a lover of cinema, and he's an absolute master at directing and working with cinematographers to get incredible shots and a wonderful spectacle, and it's the kind of thing that you want to see on the big screen rather than at home. But with this film, because it was very personal and very small and very self-contained, once you got to the main part of the film, most of his talents were completely wasted. Overall, I came away from this film fairly disappointed, especially after some of the incredible highs of the past he's had. There's no doubt that Tarantino's voice is incredibly unique in cinema, and every project that he does is completely different from the last one. But I feel like this was an enormous misstep. If you compare this to something like Murder on the Orient Express, then you can see how to do a proper murder mystery in a contained space, where the dialogue is much crisper and the film is much shorter in comparison. So overall, I'm only going to have to give this 1 bag out of 5, and that was for the score by Ennio Morricone and the cinematography, which was incredible. Have you seen The Hateful Eight? What did you think of it? Get in touch with us via email, Twitter or Facebook, and you can leave us a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.